What's up, everyone? It's Jeremy Majors here with Majors Academy Dog Training out of Green Bay, Wisconsin. And this is episode 109, uh, Dog Behavior Q&A, where this is our weekly show. We answer questions that you may have, and we try to do our best to give you um, a good answer. Sometimes I'll give you a simple answer, and sometimes I'll give you a complex answer, especially when you're dealing with behavior. Some answers are going to be very lengthy because I want to try and help you as best as I can, but at the same time, I could talk for hours on a very simple, well, not simple, a very common issue like leash aggression. So this is our weekly show. Feel free to ask some questions. Yeah, or if you just feel like hanging out, hang out. Let's get started. Okay, you guys, your questions, if you ask them live, they'll be answered first. I'll go back to the questions that are answered or asked, not live, after I get all the live questions. Okay, here we go. Sarah asks, how do I help with my dog's anxiety? Destroys his crate even in 20 minutes and will destroy the house if left out. Number one thing to go ahead and evaluate is your dog properly exercised? Because exercise is the release of anxiety. I do notice with young dogs that if they're not properly exercised, they will tear up stuff. If they are properly exercised, they tend not to tear up stuff. So evaluate how much your dog needs exercise-wise. All right, and then if the dog, as a rule of thumb, if your dog destroys stuff outside of the crate, then the dog needs to be put in a crate for about a couple of weeks, and then give them a shot after that. So again, definitely evaluate how much exercise. That's most important. All right. Yeah, if he's destroying that crate, then he may just not be tired enough. Just give it a shot and see what you get. Thanks for your question. Feel free to ask another. Okay, Janelle asks, how do you help a dog with extreme separation anxiety? She's fine. She's fine with her kennel when home, but once you leave, she freaks and starts to go crazy, barking her face open. She only does this when you leave. So how do I help this? Great question, Janelle. So what you want to do is start teaching her how to be calm in the crate while you're home. Because the dog needs to be taught how to become how to act in the crate, and the only way to do that is to do that, crate her while you're home. Even if she doesn't go crazy, you can still teach things that will help her soothe herself when you're not there. And one of those ways in which you can teach them to soothe themselves is to make sure your dog has a reliable down command. When you say down, the dog should actually do that. Okay? And if you can have that, then you are more than halfway there. So I would start crating her while you're home more. Obviously, again, make sure she is properly exercised. That will help get her to realize that she should calm down quicker. And so, but the dog has got to lay down when you're down. Now here's the other thing. Okay, this is one of those subjects that I could talk to you forever about. But I'm not going to go too deep into it. But I will say this: there's more rules to crate training than just keeping the dog in the crate. Crate training involves not only potty training, but crate training involves being quiet in the crate. Crate training involves when you open that crate door that the dog doesn't rush out. The dog asks to come out. Can you get the dog to sit in the crate? Can you get the dog to down in the crate? That's what crate training is, because you're teaching the dog to be calm in the crate, not allowing the dog to act however it wants to act in the crate. So when you get home and she's in the crate, you have to then also get that dog to go in a down, because I'm pretty sure the dog is going to be going crazy when you walk through the door. So when you walk through the door, do not make her the priority by rewarding her crazy behavior to get out of the crate, because you're just reinforcing the crazy behavior. And so when you get home, you should be able, first and foremost, let's go ahead and this is your game plan. When you go home, or the first thing you should teach your dog without the crate is to go down when you say down. You may have to put a leash on the dog. You may have to add training tools. I have a YouTube video on just how to do this. It's How to Down, that's the title. If you can't get a reliable down, then I suggest you watch that video and you get that. And then you do that inside the crate. That crate should be a place where you can go and the dog automatically goes and relaxes. So many people call me and say, well, I don't want him to think it's a punishment thing. I don't want my dog to think it's a punishment thing. I want him to think it's a positive thing. And so I tell people that I think it should just be an area where the dog can feel safe and calm. You know what I mean? But I'll put dog in a crate if the dog does something I don't want it to do. I have no problem with people putting them in the crate because of that. I don't think it matters. Because I'll put them in the crate when I feel like it, not when, they necessarily do something bad. Oh, now it's crate time when you do something bad. No, it doesn't work like that for me. When people come over, I put my dogs in the crate. All right. I hope that helps. Feel free to ask another question. Okay. I ordered a high-packed aluminum crate that will hopefully prevent that. I mean, maybe the dog won't tear up crap, but it's not going to stop the dog from trying to. You want to stop the dog from trying to. So just ordering a different crate is going to help the amount of damage, sure, but we're after the mindset, and that should be the priority, not just trying to band-aid the problem. So make sure, that even same thing with your dog, that we get strict obedience in the crate, but you can't ask a dog to be obedient, in my opinion, without providing them what they ultimately need, which is exercise. Okay. Hey Jeremy, how's Maisie doing? When my wife's working, should Maisie be in the crate in a different room, or should she be in her office with her? Does it matter? It does matter, and I think it should be both. I think Maisie is fine with her in the same room, but also maybe give Maisie a break in the crate too. If Maisie's in the crate the entire time, that's bad. If Maisie's by her all the time, that's bad too. So it's got to be a mixture of both. But Maisie's doing great. We had another nail session today, and she's getting better and very less stressed about it. She actually took some treats from me, and we were able to take the muzzle off, and she just lays there now. So I'm excited to show you what we've worked on, and uh, I've got it on video, so it's kind of cool. Alrighty, let's get to some more questions. All right, I'm gonna go back to last week because last week I wasn't able to make it because Facebook was down. All right. Okay, so we'll go all the way back. Becky asks, how do you convince someone their dog needs a ton of training, but they are blind to it? I don't convince people that they need training, except if it's an extreme situation and that I see that dogs or people are in danger. I don't, a long time ago when I first started out, maybe I would have, I would have tried to push training on people, but the way that I train, the tools that I use, um, people really got to be ready, convinced, and committed. And you're gonna run into people who are not there, and you know you may not want to move forward with them because consistency really is again a very important part of training, but a very important from the owner's side. And if they're not committed, then the consistency is in jeopardy, and that's not good. So I don't convince anybody anymore. I'll give them my advice. I'll give them my opinion, and they do what they want with it. But they've got to be ready. Point blank. Period. All right. Okay. Have you ever had a dog so human aggressive that you were able to work through and change the mindset, but once the owners came back into the picture, it all fell apart? Have I ever had a dog so human aggressive? Yes, I've had that happen. Yes. Um, Unfortunately, sometimes, no matter how bad a dog is, no matter how serious the situation, some people can't seem to stay consistent with training, and that's unfortunate. Uh, but I'm not too hard on people. I used to be, but I'm not too hard on people anymore because I know that there are breeders that are to blame. There are breeders that are out there giving dogs, naturally, genetically fearful dogs, to people. And they have not a good excuse why they're doing that. It really kind of angers me. Just had a call today. Springer Spaniel, fearful, barking, leash aggressive, only 6 months. Are you kidding me? Only 6 months, and this dog is doing this crap. What we can do to help that is to give these breeders a really bad review. Okay, the breeders are, again, um, they're giving dogs that they're giving people hope that this dog is going to be a great companion dog. People, that's what the average person wants, is a good companion dog, family dog, can take them on walks, no problem. Social with dogs, no problem. Not a lot of training. That's possible. It should be possible. Well, it is possible, and it should be more possible than it is. life shouldn't be that hard with your dog. You should not have to deal with a dog that naturally is shy and ends up fearful and as a result biting the hell out of another person, dog, or kid. Cheers, Amy. Um, and so I have developed a lot of empathy when it comes to, uh, you know, people and being lost on what to do when they're having this problem that they didn't create and they don't know how to solve because they're not prepared for that, and I don't think that they should be prepared for it. Um, so I always inquire, especially when there's a young dog, about the breeder, not where they are or anything like that, but I want to make sure people know that when you go to pick out a dog, uh, have a checklist of things to check off. Do not let the cuteness or if a dog comes to you be your deciding factor as to if you get that puppy or not. Okay, so let's just go through a couple of things that I would check off when you go buy a dog. All right. Number one, did you meet the parents? And I'm not talking about just one. I'm talking about both. Can you pet and interact with both parents? If you can just do one, that's a red flag. Those are going to tell you, though, give you a good predictor on how your dog is going to be. Some breeders will only let you pet the male. Some breeders will only let you pet the female. If that's true, do not get the dog. Go to another breeder. So that's one. And two is evaluate what kind of dog is going to be good for you. If you're a laid back guy in a apartment, not even guy, just girl, whatever, and you're in an apartment, don't get a beagle. Don't get a German short-haired pointer. Get a companion dog, not a working dog. It's not suitable for that. Unless you can find a breeder that says this dog doesn't want to hunt. This dog just wants to lay back and chill. So those are just a couple of things. But I could talk your ear off about that. We'll talk about something else. Okay, let's see what we got here. Came into this late, hoping to watch the first 14 minutes tomorrow and get my answer. Yeah, I'm sorry, I just answered it. Yours was probably the third question I answered. Or if you just wait until 8 p.m. You can go ahead and watch it. But, all right, next question. Okay, Amanda says, my puppy and my older dog play quite well together. However, my older dog, Princess, cries when Axel gets her with his little teeth. I didn't think much of it because she will continue to play with him. Today I noticed she actually has cuts and scabs where he bites her. Is there any way to teach him to play gently with her, or is it something with age that will work itself out? Great question. I think both. Well, not both. I think that you are correct in what you may be correct in what you're thinking already. The other thing is you can put the dog with another dog that will correct that behavior. Maybe your dog is too sweet of a dog not to, you know, not to be strong enough to teach that dog, because I know that breed is more stubborn than others. And so you may want to get that dog with a tougher dog, not one that will hurt the dog, but one that will be able to teach your young pup that biting this hard is not what's up, Jamal, is not acceptable. So either socialize that other dog, socialize that dog with other dogs, or it may be something that he grows out of, or maybe not. So that's that. All right, next question. Okay, next question goes to, do you coach? Do you do coaching at all when it comes to an owner showing their dog in obedience classes? Not so much training, but coaching to critique what owner has already taught. Yes, I can do that. Sounds like fun to me. But I answered your question from last week earlier, so I thought that's what you were talking about. If you're watching live, your question is answered. So there you go. All right, my corgi likes to get close to my chocolate lab's face, almost to the point of the sides of their faces are touching. Then my corgi will show the whites of his eyes and roll onto his back, making sure he's directly under the chocolate lab. My lab doesn't pay any attention and seems to try and look the opposite way. But the corgi continues to lay on his back. They're both males. Is this a sign of aggression or submission? Should I be worried? I don't think you should be worried. Doesn't seem like your lab is too worried about it if the dog avoids. And I think your corgi probably is being submissive. It could be a way of like passive aggression or just that needy behavior. There's a lot of dogs who are like needy submissive, where they kind of just bug the dominant dog. So no, I don't think you should be worried. You know, if it was my dogs and they got too much, like the dog seemed like it didn't have any control over what it was doing, then I would stop it or attempt to stop it. And that goes for any behavior that I feel is out of the dog's control, borderline obsessive. I'm going to try and see if I can intervene if I don't think it's healthy for them or the pack. All right. Thanks for your question. Okay. Remember, guys, we are live on YouTube as well. Last week, Facebook took a crap on us. And so you can catch last week's video or last week's episode on YouTube. Okay. Next question. Hey Jeremy, Winston is so much better if I don't have the transmitter on my neck. He's so stubborn, as you know. How do I wean him off that? No receiver, just transmitter. That's crazy. All right. So it's not crazy. It's actually very common. But all right. So this is what you want to do. Just remember, when you have a dog who starts to learn little things like that, you want to always go back to basics just a little bit and make sure you are using your other layers, because it's the other layers that are going to be able to it's your consistency with other layers that are going to reverse that sort of they call it collar smart, but in your case it's receiver smarts. But you want to add another layer. So the number one layer that you can add is your voice. Okay, and you will have to keep that receiver on you for, the next 8 out of 10 times you want them to do something. But make sure you can wean off of that by, first, obviously, using it, or showing it, and then using your voice. And then try next time without using it, just hang it on your neck, and then use your voice. And then if he doesn't respond to just that, then you grab it and use your voice again. So your voice has got to be paired with the thing that gets him to behave, no matter what tool it is. The voice has got to be paired with that thing for long enough to where then you can take that tool off and your voice still remains. And sometimes, dogs are going to need another layer added just to maybe revamp for a while. That's okay. That's totally fine. But again, you want to make sure your voice is the layer that is the most important, the most reliable. And in order to get that, you may have to add those layers back and then start peeling off once you see that he doesn't need those extra layers. All right. I thank you for your question. Feel free to ask another one, and I'm glad Winston is doing better. Thanks for reaching out. Okay, so people know that if you train with me and you train and you invest in our board and train program, people know that they can reach out to me at any time. I thank them for reaching out. I really want them to reach out. I really want to provide them with an outlet of support at all times, no matter what, because that's how we make sure we stay on the right path. So I tell people you can use me as much as you like, for as long as you like. This Saturday, we are going to start our pack walks. I'm going to hopefully send out the email tomorrow, but our Saturday pack walks and classes are also there for people who go through that board and train classes, and those are free for the rest of the dog's life too. Again, we want to provide another outlet to where you can continue to improve on the things that you need to improve, because getting good with dogs requires not only a continued education for the dog, but it also is very important that the owner continue to hear and learn different things, because even there's some things that you can pick up from other people who have gone through our board and train class, and so our board and train, and so when you're in class amongst other clients, you guys can share stories and get better together. That's why that's there. So, thanks for your question. Feel free to ask another one. Okie dokie. More questions, huh? All right, what's the best way to get a dog to be calm in the car when they see other cars, people driving next to us? It's not much the short rides, it's the long ones that make him cry and whine and almost like he wants to say hi to them. Okay. So if you have a dog that is showing obsessive behavior in the car, let's just call it obsessive behavior, because not all dogs that hang their head out the window need to do this. I'm talking to the dogs that whine, bark, pant, throw up, pace, go from window to window, has to be looking, all those behaviors that seem to be out of the dog's control, that seem to be obsessive. Those are the behavior. Those are the behaviors that have to be addressed. That should be addressed. It's better for the dogs that you go ahead and give them something to do so that they can't fall victim to their own insecurity, fear, stress, anxiety, whatever the hell it is. All right, so here's what you should do. You should teach that dog to lay down when you say down. That will teach your dog to and eliminate that crying, the whining, and all that stuff. All right. We give our dogs way too much. Some dogs are so they fall victim to all that stimulation that happens in the car. Big old things, big objects coming towards them fast, loud, obnoxious, or passing them fast, loud, obnoxious. Things that are just going by. And if you have a dog, like I said, especially any dog who has any sort of herding background, they may have a hard time dealing with that. And so, first and foremost, for their safety, it's best that they be in a car crate, in a traveling crate. Not only to keep them safe, keep them as safe as possible if you get in a crash, but also it eliminates the amount of stimulation that can be had, that they can receive, and so that would be my first step. Put the dog in a crate, a traveling crate. Even if you got to put your seat down or something, that's fine. That's what you do, though. Especially, it's good for puppies too. And then the second thing would be you gotta teach the dog to lay down when you want. When you ask the dog to lay down, it must do so. You're not gonna try and teach that dog while you're in the car, though. That's not the best place to do it. The best place to do it is to be at home when there's that no stimulation, and the dog can actually listen to you. Okay, so teach that dog down. All right, thanks for your question. All right, Christina says or asks, what's your viewpoint after a dog bites a person and goes to the vet? The vet recommends euthanasia because the human doesn't see a trigger. The vet claims chemical deficiency as the reason, even though it can't be proven. I'm not sure what to think about this. Wondering what your belief is. Whew. Let me take a drink before I answer that. Okay. I think we as people have got to be able to better understand what it means when a dog gets aggressive. I think way too many people aren't quite clear on what aggression is. Okay. If a dog bites, okay, do we put down children if they get into a fight? Because it's the same thing. Same thing. If a child gets aggressive, do we put them down? It is the same thing. I don't care how weird that sounds. Aggression comes from the same place. And in order to understand that, you must understand aggression. I understand aggression quite well because I am an aggressive person. I've been taught how to use my aggression in a positive way. That's what sports are for. Sports are for those who like to be aggressive. Aggression is not something that's bad. It can be bad if used in the wrong way. But there are plenty of obedience dogs, agility dogs. Agility dogs are very aggressive. That sounds weird, right? But you have to be aggressive to attack the tunnel, to attack the jump. That's aggression. The need to, the tenacity at which you go after something, right? That's aggression in my opinion. Okay. So, if your dog acts bad in an aggressive way, it does not mean you should put the dog down. 99% of dogs that act aggressive are doing so because we haven't properly learned how to be their leader. Sometimes a dog just needs to learn. And so, you know, don't like there's a lot of dogs that are put down every day because of what vets say to them. And vets are not behaviorists. Just because the trigger is unknown doesn't mean there's not a trigger. It's like trying to get your computer fixed with your knowledge compared to a computer engineer's knowledge. Just because you don't see what's wrong with your computer doesn't mean it's broken. Doesn't mean it can't work. Take it to a computer engineer and they'll be able to figure it out. So that's how I feel about it. Chemical deficiency. What does that even mean? I'll tell you what. People can even feel like their dogs are unpredictable until they come to me. And I'll tell them their dog is not unpredictable. Unpredictable dogs are big brats, period. Unpredictable dogs are big brats because they can act how they want to act when they want to act. That's what makes them unpredictable. But it's still a result of what we're not doing or what we should be doing as their parent. So that's my belief. Feel free to give me a call if you want. Don't put that dog down before you see a behaviorist or something like that. Okay, so people, here's a lesson. Before you decide to put your dog down, after even your vet says so, because I've worked with a lot of them, talk to a behaviorist. Because if the dog is biting out of pure fear, that can be worked with. If the dog is biting out of pure bratty behavior, that can be worked with. If a dog is biting because there's a little bit of both, that can be worked with. So there's really no other reason why dogs bite. Dog either feels like they have to, or they feel like they can and get away with it, or a mixture of both. But either way, those dogs can be worked with because they have the intelligence to learn. So I hope that helps. Like I said, feel free to give me a call. I don't feel good about that. Feel free to give me a call and or ask any more questions or anything like that. But dogs bite because they instinctually, they're predisposed to do so. It's survival for them. It can save their life. Genetically, it's there for them to save their life, to protect them, to help them eat. So don't be surprised when dogs bite. It's not like, oh God, he's a horrible dog because he bites. It's like, no, he's not a horrible dog because he bites. Yes, there are some dogs that never bite. But just because your dog bites doesn't mean the dog should be put down. You gotta dig into the details of why. And you have to talk to someone who knows why before you take their life. All right, enough about that. Thanks for your question, though. I'm glad you asked. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start a podcast. It's going to be separate from this. Actually, it's going to be live on Facebook, but I hope to get veterinarians, local veterinarians. I hope to be able to interview them, and so that we can somehow come to some sort of common ground on very important issues. I think it would be very valuable to the dog community if we have those types of discussions, because there seems to be a big gap of knowledge, and it seems to be a lot of ego involved between trainers and veterinarians. And you know what happens when there's ego involved? A lot of dogs lose their life. And that's not okay. So I really want to have a platform to where I can get other professionals in here, even professionals that don't agree with what I do, and try and find some common ground in the world of behavior, and see if we can help best educate the dog community. What do you guys think about that? If you like that, what I just said, and you would like to see that, give me a thumbs up, because I think it'll be great. I've already got some veterinarians that already agreed to do something like that. So we're gonna get that started, man. All right. Okay, let's see. Next question. Jeremy, any thoughts on our dog putting its paws on our counters and dining table? We say no, but she shrugs it off. Thanks. My thoughts would be, if you don't think it's okay, then figure out a way to communicate that to your dog. If no is not enough, you may have to add some sort of adversive tool to get your dog to avoid making that decision. Because if the dog doesn't receive some sort of correction or some sort of, let's just say, guidance in that situation that makes them think twice about doing so, it's free to do it. It's just like biting or any conscious decision. And I mean, it doesn't matter how mad they are. It doesn't matter how big of a fit they throw. It doesn't matter what's in front of them. Dogs really can make they make a choice. Any good behavior or bad behavior is a choice, no matter if they're in a fight. If they have a good level of respect for you, then they'll stop it. All right. Thank you for your question. Okay. Jeremy, thanks for all that you do for us. Again, I have so much more peace in my house since you took Winston and did your education with him and us. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you trusting me with your loved one. I know that is very tough for some people. Some people say, can I visit him within the 3 weeks? And I say, no, you can't. Because it only sets the dog back, unfortunately. All right, got a question on YouTube. What's your opinion on breed-specific legislation bans? Woo! Oh, you just opened up a can of worms. And you know me, I'm going to answer as honest as possible because it is my responsibility to give my honest opinion on subjects that I feel will be helpful. And then it is your responsibility, if you don't think that what I say is true, to give your opinion so that we can come together and get to a better solution. All right. So many of you may not like my answer. Okay? You may not like my answer. But I'm going to give you good reasons as to why I think the way that I do. Breed-specific legislation. Does it work? Yes, it works. I'm going to say that again. Breed-specific legislation works. And for those of you who think that all breeds should be treated in as equal, it's just not true. All breeds are not the same. Sorry to say that. Actually, not really that sorry, because it's just the reality. All breeds are not the same, and all breeds can't handle certain environments. Bottom line. Some breeds are not good in city environments. Now, we're going to speak in general terms here. We're going to speak in general terms. Okay? So don't try and catch me, because I've thought this through. Okay. In general, breed-specific legislation. Let's just take an apartment complex, for God's sakes. Apartment complexes that ban German Shepherds, Cane Corsos, Pit Bulls, and other bully breeds. Or they breed them by size. I mean, they ban them by size too. I agree with them. I don't want a German Shepherd in an apartment. I don't want a Pit Bull in an apartment. I want them to be in a yard. I want them to have yard. I want them to have space. A German Shepherd in an apartment sounds like a disaster for the dog. They're going to be, they're workers. They're hunters. They don't belong in that environment. Now, if you have a calmer dog, okay, but here's the other whole side of the argument. The other side is, can you blame these people for, putting this legislation together? Because on average, well, in my opinion, on average, people don't even know how to get their dog to stop barking. So then you're going to inconvenience about 4 or 5 other residents because the average person doesn't know how to keep their dog from barking. The average person doesn't even really know how to teach their dog to not pee and poop inside the apartment, the house. You can say you're a dog lover as a landlord, but you can't just let anybody in with their dog. Some dogs will destroy your house, destroy your property. and will do damage that is not fixable, like peeing, and then allowing that pee to soak up into the carpet, the wood, it's just a mess. So, um, I I would blame our lack of education when it comes to how to deal with dogs. I really think there are many uh, outlets that push that don't. There's not enough outlets that educate what it means to be a responsible dog owner. There are not enough out there. And let's just say, for example, the rescues, the humane societies. They're some of them are good, I guess, but some of them don't even know where the dog came from, why the dog came to them. I don't ever hear stories from people saying how the dog came to them. Sometimes maybe dogs are dropped off or whatever. That's fine. That's okay. But I just feel that there's not enough education when it comes to being responsible for learning how to correctly live peacefully with a dog inside of an apartment. So that's a great question. I really appreciate the question, but I do think it does work, and I can't blame whoever is putting it forth, because again, we as a society, we choose not to make education the priority. We just choose to take it away. If something doesn't work, if something bad happens with something, we'll try and see if we can take it away. So that's the society we live in, and that's my opinion. Again, I don't want a high energy dog in an apartment if I owned an apartment complex, because I'm going to be advocating for dogs. I'm not going to let someone with a young German Shepherd, Pit Bull, any energetic dog. I don't want them to be in an apartment. So, those are my thoughts. What do you think about that? What do you guys think? Because I just feel bad. I walk my dogs in an apartment complex, or apartment complex, and I see this beagle, and it's young, and it's pulling the hell out of his owner, and just I go, I know that dog. I said, I made a comment. I know that dog's giving you hell in that apartment. Just kind of playing around with him, and he goes, yeah, and you should see my apartment, and it's like, okay, well, I feel bad for that dog. I believe in good citizen tests rather than breed bans. Yeah, but good citizen tests are only tests. They don't maintain anything, and it's not any sort of comprehensive. It's not that. I wouldn't think that's sufficient. I used to be a canine citizen evaluator. Now I will say that it is better than nothing. I would definitely agree with that notion. It's better than nothing. But there are dogs who come to me, it's got to be something that's maintained. Now, here's what you could do. Oh yeah, require the canine good citizen, but then maybe require, continued education somehow. You know what I'm saying? But again, there are some dogs that I have met that canine good citizen or not, training, a whole bunch of training or not, if they're not getting the proper exercise, then they just shouldn't belong with that owner and in that environment. Let's stick to what dogs need. If they're in an apartment for more than 5-6 hours, if they're especially if they're young, then that's pretty bad. So I'm just thinking about the welfare of the dog on a mental level more so than if the dog pees, poops, and craps. Certain breeds do way better in apartments than others. That's just facts. Yeah, retest like a driver's license. Yeah, that work well. I think that would work well. Like every 2 months or bi-monthly or something like that. They're required to maintain a certain level of obedience. That's certainly something that's better than nothing. So I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. All right, that was a long-winded answer. Okay, we'll have time for one more question. If you have any itching questions right now, get them out now. I got another question to answer on Facebook or on Instagram. There are way too many pit mixes in shelters. Yes, there are. And there are way too many hound mixes in shelters, too. Hey, Alyssa, yeah. Could you pull up my Instagram? Oh, I got your phone here. Never mind. I'll pull it up. Got a question on Instagram, and I can't see it unless I pull up a phone. Okay, pause a while. Dog daycare asks, how do we work on a submissive peer in daycare? We narrowed it down to meet and greets, and she's great afterwards, but she pees in the lobby on her way in, and when we can relocate those dogs in daycare to outside, she can be comfortably initially entering the room. Heard they will outgrow it, but some do not. Yeah. So when you're in the lobby, try this. When you're in the lobby, don't say hi to her. Just grab the leash and go. Like, don't even give her a chance to stop. Just grab the leash and go. Don't say hi to her. The excitement may be causing the elimination of the pee. So I would grab the leash and go. Say it in a subtle way, maybe. If her name is Maisie, say, hey, Maisie, grab the leash and go. Because now the anticipation, the excitement of already being in dog daycare is going to be there. And then the excitement of seeing you guys is there. And now it's sort of a, pattern thing maybe. And we can relocate those in daycare to outside so she can be comfortable initially entering the room. So yeah, that's what I would do. Any dog that is a peer, I always keep the leash on, simply because they may not necessarily like to be that close to someone initially. So I would keep the leash on the dog, and once again in the lobby, just grab the leash and go. When I was in dog daycare, we had a couple of dogs that did that, and that's how we sort of worked that out. So, key is not to allow the dog to stop moving. Kind of just walk in, grab the leash, keep the dog on all fours. Don't let the dog sit, because the dog definitely going to pee then, and keep it moving. All right. Thanks for your question. All right, folks. If any of you guys don't have any further questions, I really appreciate you guys watching. We'll be here next week at the same time, answering your questions. And like I said, our goal is to very soon in the near future to get other professionals on with myself. And I'm going to interview these guys. I'm going to interview these people so we can sort of start bridging the gap between dog trainers and veterinarians. That would be a first good goal for me. If I can get a brave veterinarian to come on and answer some tough questions, then that would be good. Because it seems to be there's a miscommunication when it comes to certain behavior things. All right, so look out for that. All of our little episodes or podcasts, whatever you want to call them, are on iTunes now. All of them are recorded, and we're going to be moving to Spotify soon. So look out for that. Anyway, pack walk this Saturday for all my past clients who are watching. We got a pack walk 9 a.m. It's going to be at the same place. I'm going to send out the email tomorrow and with the details. So look out for that. I hope to see you guys all on Saturday. It's going to be great weather. And thank you guys for watching. Give me a thumbs up, please, if you enjoyed it. And we'll see you